Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this Bitrix demo webinar. I am Joannika from FullView. I head up the sales and the marketing, and we thought it would be a good idea to assist small businesses in starting to use the Bitrix tool to run their businesses remotely. In this session, we would just go through a few pointers on how you can use Bitrix. Let me just get the correct slide on there. So that's me, I'm the Sales Marketing Director. And then what we will do is just some background info on Bitrix, looking at the main functions available for you to run your business, then differentiating between leads and deals, which is sometimes a confusing aspect for customers, and then the relationship of companies and contacts. Then lastly, which is where we will jump into Bitrix, and I'll show you how you can upload some of your information to be able to manage your business online. Bitrix as a whole worldwide has about 6 million users. This was of the stats of, I think, 2 months ago, so it's growing all the time. And you can check the Bitrix website to see who's where and how many users, which is quite a nice tool. Then if we look at FullView, so I've listed a few of our customers. It's really from very small businesses to a call center of about 200 to 300. So Bitrix is unique in the fact that it doesn't have a specific system or process that's been set up and then you have to run your business based on that. No, it's set up after we've looked at what you require for your business and what your processes are. And then we tweak Bitrix and apply it to your needs. There's also a sense that they said Bitrix is I think they call it a deductive tool. So everything is there. You don't have to install anything. You just remove what you don't need. Bitrix, if you need to sum it up, I would say it is a CRM system supported by a few other modules. So in general, yes, it is a CRM solution, but it's more than that, and it's got few foundations or pillars that it's also built on. The first stream we can look at is your communication. So whether it's internal in between your employees or if it is with your customers, no matter what the interaction are, all of that should happen from your Bitrix platform. So you have an overview and real-time access to what's been happening. Nothing is as embarrassing as contacting a customer to get some info and half an hour back he had a call from someone else in your business. So then you would know what's happening. Tasks and projects, especially with us working remotely now, to assign a task to know who has to do what and for what reason. So that's where you can use the tasks and assign it to whoever is the relevant employee. CRM, so that the basic for that is customer relationship management. So whether it is just for a simple sale or is it about maintaining your customer relationship and having all the information, that is where Bitrix, you can use Bitrix as your tool. Looking at the contact center, that's almost summarizing the features that we mentioned before to know that you are all on the same page. Looking at leads and deals, that's sometimes a very confusing concept for customers, and I would like to do that before we jump into Bitrix. So I tried to explain it in a little bit of a diagram. So if you look at these dots you have running from left to right, so those can be inquiries, whether it's from your website or whether it's an email or a phone call. And if it is a lead, you've got no specific information. You don't know what product they want. Maybe they want a couch and you are selling computer hardware. Can we just mute everybody? There we are. So you get all those inquiries, and you would need to qualify them first to see, can you actually service this customer, and can you give them what they need? So that second stage is where you gather a bit more information, and we can also call it you qualify the lead. So this is the part that you would see as leads. And then this lead can mature to a deal, and a deal is not a sale that's been done, it's a deal in progress, or some systems would call it an opportunity. My comment is normally, as soon as money gets involved, when you need to do a quote or send a proposal, then you create a deal. And in Bitrix, that's the point where you would create a customer and a company, so you can keep track of this relationship with your specific customer. And then you could have many stages depending on your business of your sales process. And then the last would be where you do the invoice, you receive the payment, and like we sometimes say, is when you hear that ping in the bank and it's done, then you know the sale is completed. And then the very last step that I think we all sometimes forget about, and you don't actually realize the value of it, is that touch base afterwards. Hi there, are you still happy? Is there anything else we can do? Is there maybe an add-on product that you need? So, and for your business, if you haven't plotted this process before, it's very handy to just sit down and do that. And I've created a little acronym that you can maybe use. So if you use the word first, so the F is for your first contact, I is where you gather a bit more information, R is when you respond with either your pricing or your proposals, S is where it's actually sold, and then the T for your touch base to make sure you manage the relationship with your customer. Then the other aspect I just want to explain is contacts and companies. So there's an interrelationship, if I can call it like that, with contacts and companies. And depending on your business scenario, if you just sell computer hardware to individuals, then you would most probably only deal with contacts in your company. But if you do, for instance, you're a financing company or you're an accounting firm, then you might deal with one company and different people. You will deal with the HR, with the financial guys, with the bookkeeper. So you'll have different contacts at a company. So if you look at the little diagram on the right where we would have Ford Motor Company and you've got different employees. And then for each of those, you would mention the role that they have. So when you communicate and you want to send a newsletter maybe only to the HR managers, then you can do that based on the designation that you've loaded on your Bitrix. So that's a bit of basics about Bitrix and where we are coming from. Let's then jump into Bitrix and I can show you some examples on how you can use the system. Just going to share another screen with you. Good. So logging into your Bitrix is something that everybody can customize for themselves. You've got the basic layout of menus and where what is displayed, but your menu items of the information or the actions that you're going to use the most is where you can customize it and only display and use what is relevant for you. Bitrix has about 35 to 40 built-in modules or tools. So if you start by using everything all at once, I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's better just to do it bit by bit. And as you start to get used to the system, you can add more of the features. So that's why it's always good and handy to remove the features you don't going to need now. So you're just hiding it. And as you work with it, you display and use more of the modules. For today, what I want to do is just show you an example of how we would load a new lead and mature that to a deal, and then link a contact and a company to that specific deal. Let's just go with a generic example. If you look at your menu here on top, if you hover on any of your main entities, you would see a little plus icon popping up, and that's when you know you can add a new lead, deal, contact, or company. So let's load a new lead. What I've done is in Bitrix, you've got standard contact fields like name, surname, date of birth, Facebook, whatever name or information you need. So I've hidden some of the information that we're not necessarily going to use now. But when you use your Bitrix, you would customize it and change it to the information that's relevant for you. Let's add a fictional character over here. We will pick a date of birth. Position, like I mentioned earlier, if you want to know who you are talking to. Company name, we will call it Toyota Motors. Put a phone number in. It does recognize the country code, so you can set it up. You know it should be numbers in South Africa. When you load an email address, it does validate it. So it won't save it unless I've added an actual address over here. Website address, if you need that. Then you can have some custom fields on the information that you need. Google address is a very nice feature that you can use if you want to capture the addresses of your customers, because it auto-completes with all the 31 main streets on Google Maps, and you can select that specific customer. Then when you need to be out on the road and locate that customer, it's very handy just to open the link and you know where they are. The bottom part of a lead is where I think we don't realize the value of it. You need to log the source of where you got this lead from. If you think back about that little diagram I had with the dots, it comes from a different, each from a different source. So you need to be able to track, where am I getting my sales from, and where do I need to pay more attention or spend a bit more money on Google AdWords maybe, because that's where I'm getting my sales from. Then on the very first interaction with your customer, you would have first comments and requirements that you got from them, and you would save that in your lead. Now we've got the basics. If you think back about my acronym, we've got step 1. Now I need to go back to the customer and get a bit more information about what they need. So in your business, you can have fields over here that says, okay, this is the product that they are interested in. They need product XYZ, and I would save that. On the right is where the history would be of your interaction with this customer, and this is where, working remotely, it is so important to log what's been happening. So if I had a call from the customer and they requested XYZ from me, I would log it over here and save the information. Then I can say, okay, I've logged this. Now somebody else needs to take over on this sale because it's not necessarily my department. So you would use your employees that you've added, and we will get to that in the next phase on how you would load your users. But this is now assigned to John, and John is the responsible person that has to follow up on this lead. Now, you will see on the right here on the comment that I made, it has that little icon with my user icon. When John is logged in and he adds more information about his discussion and the requirements that he got, his icon would appear on the right. Everybody's got an overview of what's been happening with this sale. And now we would be in the different stage of the lead. So I'm in quality and get information. Why is this part on top important? When you want to report on your sales, you would know I've got 50 new inquiries. I've got 30 that's in the stage of qualify. So you need to push and track whoever needs to follow up on the information, because that's where we often lose sales because the leads go cold, as we would say. That's where we can have some automations to remind you, listen, you've got 3 deals, you need to follow up and get more information, else they might go to your competitor. Now this is where we will mature a lead from a deal. This customer requested a quote from me, so I will say I'm completing the lead and I'm going to generate a deal and a contact, or a deal, contact, and company, depending on your business and the setup that you do. So let's say this is only going to be a deal and a contact. If you have one of the paid solutions of Bitrix, you can set up more than one sales pipeline. What does that mean? If I am the IT company and I sell hardware, but I also do installations and support services, I can have two pipelines that I'm managing. One is when I do new sales, it's very short. I get the info, I do the quote, I send the invoice and it's paid. Whilst if I need to do something like an SLA, I'll have different stages, and I'll give you an example of that now. For this, we're going to say it's a new product sale, and it will generate my deal and my contact. What's the relationship between deals, contacts, and companies? If you have a look at this card or information screen of this deal, you would see the information we logged in the lead would be carried through to the deal, so you still have the history of what's been happening. And I can have extra information now that I load. Maybe you need a spec of his layout for his office, so you know the cabling requirements that you're not going to have in stage one. You would add this extra information over here. But I would know this lead is for Mr. Toy from Toyota. And if I had previous sales for this guy, I would open up his contact card and I can go to the deals list and see these are the deals that I have for him. If he had previous deals, it would also be displayed here, and I can show you an example of that. If you look at these three little tabs on the top left of your screen, you would see that's the history of where this lead came from. First, we had a lead that matured to a deal, and the deal was linked to a contact. In a contact or a deal or a lead, your layout will always be the same. On the left, you've got the information you've captured, and on the right, you will have your history. When you use Bitrix, you've got the option to connect your email, and it works with IMAP settings the same that if you had an Office 365 or Gmail account, the same that would be displayed on your Gmail would be in your Bitrix inbox or outbox. And then you don't have to leave Bitrix at all when you need to communicate with your customers. So basic layout, almost like in your Outlook, you can edit the fonts and send it to multiple people and add attachments. If I send it from Bitrix, the beauty of it is that everybody will have a view of the emails that's been sent without going to Outlook and going to search for sent to, from, and with keywords, because I don't know how often we need to spend time on doing that. This email will be displayed in the history of this deal. Makes it very easy. I'm passing this on now to another agent that needs to follow up because he's had a relationship or it needs to go to accounts. Then I'll change the responsible person that has to go through the next stages now. Now it is assigned to Paul, and Paul is the one that has to generate the quote. Paul generates the quote and he will send it to the customer with an email, and if he wants, he can, or if you require that, you can upload that quote here as a document. Built into Bitrix, you've got your own document drive. You can compare it to Google Drive or Dropbox that you see there on the bottom. But it is a part of your Bitrix, so you can link documents to an entity, whether it's a lead, a deal, or a contact, so you don't have to browse around and search for specific files. You can link it to this document. You can pull it up from your Bitrix drive. Let's use this file for an example, or you can upload files directly from your computer. You can select it on, let's give you an example. You can select it by uploading it from your drive, or you can simply drag and drop it, bringing it across. As easy as that. Now, whoever needs to follow up on this quote that's been sent will immediately have access to see this is the quote that has been sent to the customer. Once again, it gives you a good overview of the history so everybody knows what's going on without even being in the same office. Now we'll progress this deal through the stages, and these stages on top are not fixed. When we start with the implementation for a customer, we normally sit for a morning and you need to tell us about your business. What are your sales processes? So we help you to plot that and put a diagram in place, and then Bitrix is set up for you to help track your sales. You'll see a pop-up that came on now to say I need to upload a document. In Bitrix, like when you complete a website form, sometimes you've got a field with that red asterisk that's telling you this is a compulsory field. So often in a business, if we take the example of the pop-up now, it's a signed tender document that has to be uploaded before this can go into the last stage of the sale. You can make it a compulsory field, but only for this stage. So unless you've uploaded it, you can't move it to the next stage. We will upload a document here and save it. This is different to the way that we've loaded the previous document. If you upload a document over here in the comments, it will simply be displayed in the history. If you upload it in the way that we uploaded the signed tender document, you can assign specific fields on the left that you can have easy access to that document. If it is, for instance, the tender application or a company's registration documents, you don't have to view it in the history on the right, but you can have quick access to it here by having it as a custom field. I'm not going into the details now on how you can add custom fields, but you can add different types, whether it's numbers or fields or files or the Google Maps field you saw. We would help you to tweak this based on your business requirements. Then the last process for this would be, I've sent the invoice and they've paid it, and I'll close the deal and I will say payment received, signed, sealed, delivered, the business is completed. So that's a quick overview of following a sale through its life cycle. Some other features that I want to show you when you are working with a lead or a deal is in this block on your right that says actions. So this is your activities that you will be logging. Comments is what we just looked at, is basic comments of your interaction with your customer. If you use SMS bundles, Bitrix has a few SMS portals that you can subscribe to, and you would be able to send an email straight from here, an SMS, apologies, and then I showed you the email functionality. Another very handy feature in the emails is email templates. I don't know about the setup of your business, but in our case, quite often I need to ask the same questions about your requirements for me to process your request. So instead of copying and pasting the information from a Word template and maybe forgetting to change the name sometimes, we've got templates that you can load for basic inquiries, and you can load as many as you require. If you have a look at the top of my screen, you'll see there's a template icon. So you can set up templates before the time loaded, and when I need to send my BEE questionnaire to a customer, I've got that information, easy access, and I can send it to them and I know it's correct. I'm not making any typos or forgetting to add a name. Once again, when I send it, it will be displayed in the history on the right. Very, very handy feature, saves a lot of time. Another template feature that you can use in Bitrix is your documents. In Bitrix, you've got a quotes in the invoicing module that is displayed when you are here in the deals, where you can access it from these two tabs, but I'm not going to go into detail on that because that's mainly beneficial if you want to integrate it with your financial system, and in some cases businesses would prefer to use that when it's passed on to another person. But if I'm in this deal and I need to send a quote to a customer, I can just generate the quote document based on the information I've loaded in this lead. And for that, you would use your document templates. The same as with your email templates, you can load quite a few templates here that you would want to populate with information. For this, let's use an example of our quote. So what's happening now is I've set up a template in Word based on the information how I would want to display it, and it would have populated it with the information that was loaded in my deal. Show you another example. You would tweak it with your heading, the layout and look and feel of your company, and then it's quite easy to send either a quote or any requirements document based on the info that you captured. So this is where you can use it to send quotes and invoices or delivery receipts, whatever documents you need to create. So to summarize, that was looking at leads and deals. Leads would mature into a deal. Let's look at your pipeline. So when you work in Bitrix, you've got two main ways that you can manage your sales. The one is called the Kanban view. That's what you're seeing here in front of you. It means like a whiteboard, or if you think about your post-it notes, if you could stick them all onto a wall for sales that are in a specific life cycle stage, this is how you could view it, and you can move it around from this view. If I need to move it from one stage to the other, I can do it simply by moving it across. Very important, even if you've done it this way, remember to go back into the lead and capture information on why you moved it, else whoever needs to work on it won't have the basic information on catching up. For every business, like I mentioned, you've got your own stages. So to change your pipeline to suit your needs, you can add more stages here that would be relevant for your business. And now I can move deals to that stage, or leads, apologies. If you remember, when we were in a lead and we had to move it over to a deal, we used these stages on top. In Bitrix, quite often you've got more than one way to complete a certain process. So when you're in the lead, you can either change it or move it to the next stage there on top, or like you saw it, we can move it to a stage over here. When you work in your list view, if you think about your Outlook and the way you see your emails, you've got another option to move it over here, the same that we did in the lead when we had it open, to progress it to a different stage. The handy part about managing your leads in the list view is that you can filter for specific information. If I only want to see my leads that I got from, let's say, emails, you can run a list and you can specify it for a specific date. Let's say in this here. Okay, so not a good idea. So those are all my leads that's been created in this year, and I can filter based on responsible person, who was it for what product was the inquiry. The same would apply for your deals. You've got your list view and you've got your Kanban view. In the paid versions of Bitrix, you've also got your automation rules. What that is, if you need automatic reminders, or when you signed up for our webinar, you would have received an email giving you more information and the link, and that's an automation that's been done. So when a lead comes in from a specific source or on a specific day, you can have an automatic reminder sent out either to the customer or to an employee on actions that has to be completed. That's available for leads and deals on your paid versions. But even without that, if you are just a startup business that needs to log your basics in Bitrix, keeping track of your sales, having one central contact database is already more than managing it on a different spreadsheets or keeping track of everybody's emails. One more feature that I want to touch on is the CRM Forms. I've done a webinar on that. If you are interested in that, you can pop us a mail afterwards and we can send you that link. I don't know who's got a contact us form on their website, but normally that would be sent to an email and you have to capture or follow up on the information that you received. So with Bitrix, that functionality would be replaced with your CRM Forms. Very, very handy feature. If we look briefly at this example, you would set up a form, same like you have on your website with the information you require. And then we will tell Bitrix what needs to happen when this form is submitted. You've completed a form to register for this webinar. And on our system, we said, when you submit the form, please create a lead with that information. And you can set whether it should create a duplicate if it's already there or merge it with current information. Side note, Bitrix is quite a detailed duplicate management tool. So to prevent you from having 50 contacts that's actually the same, so it warns you when you're capturing information that's already there. So saving this specific web form, you would get a code that you can use in your website to replace your standard contact us form, so it can still be displayed in the same way. And when we complete this form, this would be the action. The form would be displayed. You can capture or the customer would capture the information. You've got your capture to prevent spam from coming in from all the robots, and the customer would submit. On this one, we've added a redirect. So after you've submitted the form, you would go to a page that's been specified. But now in Bitrix, what's better than receiving an email? The form gets populated as a lead automatically. There's the form that was submitted, and it shows me that a lead was created with the information. So nobody can forget to follow up on this, the email that came in from the website, and it can even be automatically assigned and somebody can be notified about it. That is a summary then of leads, deals, contacts, and companies. If you look at the left menu that you see, I'll just give you a brief description of what they do. So CRM is the part where you manage your leads, your deals, your contacts, and your companies. Then you have an online store that is part of your Bitrix. It's not a separate module that you have to install. It's quite an easy tool where you use drag and drop and you can build your online store, and it's linked to your Bitrix. So whatever inquiries you have over there, you will still see it on your CRM side. Email templates we touched on when I show you how to send the emails. Then your Bitrix Drive. Like I mentioned, more or less the same way like your Dropbox or Google Drive, and then you would get a Bitrix desktop application that you download that allows you to sync an offline version of your documents. I know OneDrive and Dropbox has got the same feature, same principle. Tasks. We mentioned that, or had a brief look at that when we went through the PowerPoint of the features. You can have task management as just a separate module by assigning day-to-day tasks to your users or your employees, or you can link it to a specific sale or customer that needs to be attended to. In creating a task, you can almost relate to or compare it to sending an email. You've got a subject on what the task is about. We can say service the truck. Then we've got basic items. Who has to do it and by when? What's the deadline for them to complete this task? And if I assigned it to, let's assign it to Alex, the moment I save this, he will get a notification on his side and he can now manage his tasks. So instead of sending emails around and WhatsApps on who needs to do what, It's much easier to keep it on one platform, and whoever is a manager can have an overview of the tasks of all the employees and also his own task that has to be completed. CRM Forms we had a quick look at. Then the CRM marketing. Don't know if any of you are familiar with tools like MailChimp, but it has the same features where you would select or create a specific group. I might mention earlier our financial managers or your HR. If I am that accounting firm and I need to send an email to all the HR managers, I would create a group over here that says all my companies that has a person with the designation HR manager, create a group for them, and I will send them a specific email with maybe updates on new regulations. So you don't bombard people with information that's not necessarily relevant for them. CRM marketing then, a very handy tool. Lastly, what I want to look at is how to add your employees onto Bitrix. It's no use you have all these features to keep updated, but you are the only one to see it. When you start loading your users on Bitrix, you'll always start with your basic organogram of your business setup. If you have different departments or different province sales teams, you would set that up here in your Bitrix, in your organogram. You can move your departments around and create sub-departments. We are always there available for assistance with this. But this is a very, very important part to do because there are two things that's going to be dependent on this. One is security permissions. When you are running sales per region, for instance, you wouldn't want the Pretoria sales agents to see the leads from the Joburg sales agents because they might take a chance and nick someone else's sale. That's where you would set up security permissions to say, looking at the screen in front of you now, exhibitions are only allowed to see their own leads and Gauteng is only allowed to see their own leads. But Philip, who's on top, he can see all the leads of all the departments because he needs to run the sales reports and know what's going on. Permissions would also apply to your documents. When we discuss the Bitrix drive now, you can have specific folders that can also have access per department. And lastly, when we think about notifications, if a task has been assigned to a user and it's reached his due date and nobody's attending to it, you can escalate the task to his superior and he would get a notification to quickly follow up to ensure that whatever has to be done is completed. This is then your organogram that you set up, and when you want to add your new users, you will use the invite user, where you have two ways to invite them, or actually three. You can send them this link, which would direct them and sign up, and it would be relevant to your portal. You can invite users via SMS that would redirect them then to the specific site where they need to register, or you can send them an email where they would get a link to sign up. The register function is where me or as an admin portal, you can load the users with the email addresses and they can be on the system without them having to register on their side. The tab on the far right is where you would add us as your partner, so it allows us access to the setup features in your Bitrix. If you need some assistance, then it's just much easier for us to log in from this side and assist you wherever you would require our help. The last screen I want to show you is that's called your Bitrix sitemap. So it just gives you a bit of an overview of some of the features that's available. So if you think about what we discussed now, that is merely the tip of the iceberg. And you can use all of this to steer your business in the right direction and to manage your team. And especially us working remotely, you can use the mobile app, which is part of your sign up. It's not an extra payment. You can download it from your Play Store, where you can always also manage your tasks or access contact or company information and even use some of the internal communication features like the data calls or the built-in messenger. That is then my short summary or story about Bitrix. We as FullView are passionate about helping businesses to be more effective. So yes, we consult and we assist you by installing Bitrix and using that as your tool, but at the end, we want to assist and help businesses to be more efficient. I will allow a few minutes for questions. You can pop me a question in the chat. I'll open up a new chat now and call it Q&A. So if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to pop it over there and we can have a look at some of your questions. Right, I don't see any questions popping through at the moment. You have my email address and we will send you an email after this webinar as well with our contact information, and you are more than welcome to contact us, and we will have your first 1 hour consultation to see what's your needs and where we can help you. I've got a question. Yes, so you can replace Paul's questions about the web forms. So if we go and we look at an example of, for instance, our website. Just want to remove all these other screens. You will see this website form. So you don't have to use the link and pop it up with the Bitrix layout. You can embed it as a part of your current website and it would still look the same, and you can use it as is. Does that answer your question, Paul? Great. Any other questions? That would be all from my side then. Thank you very much for joining us. If you need any information, you can either pop us an email, or if you go to our website, you will have the little web chat at the bottom that you can ask us questions. Peter, how easy is the WhatsApp integration? You've got 3 apps that you can use for WhatsApp. The quickest one to set up is called WhatsApp, where you would link one specific phone number. And if you think back about the activities screen that we used on the Bitrix, let's go to one of our contacts. It will appear as a tab on that customer, and you can view all the WhatsApp messages that's been sent by going to your WhatsApp tab. So that's the easiest one to set up, Peter. There are 2 other applications as well. We are busy installing one of them ourselves, so as soon as we've got that up and running, I can give you a bit more information on using that. So yes, that is a current cell number that you would use. You can buy just a prepaid SIM card and use that. With the other application that works with Twilio, you can rent a specific number, so it doesn't have to be a SIM card or a current account that you have. You would mainly supply them with all your RICA information and you would get a specific number for your business. Any other questions? Yes, Peter's question is, do you have an implementation plan template like steps 1 to 3 to set up the basics so that a new customer can gather information upfront and get going? Yes, we've got some homework documents that we send to new customers where they need to sit and think a bit about their sales pipeline and any custom information that they need to capture. So it saves them a bit of consultation time when they do the homework, and we will sit and work through that. And normally what we suggest if you start using Bitrix is we'll start with only a few elements, like we discussed in this demo, using contacts and companies and managing your sales and deals, and maybe also sometimes using the tasks. And as your users get used to that, we can add more of the features and also tweak them for the specific needs of your business. Right, I will send you a link of a recording of this webinar if you want to view it again afterwards or forward it to someone else. And thank you very much and have a great day. Stay safe and stay home.